Hey, what's up, guys? It is METAGAMESGX here, and we are going to be checking out a gameplay against VSK9. I'm going to be on branded Dracotail, of course, just continuing our series to learn more of the matchup knowledge with the new decks, and then also branded Dracotail. And I open Rahu Dracotail branded opening, Book of Eclipse, Dracotail Femina, and then the Quem, and then he opens up DD Crow, Ash Blossom, Perulia, Mad Love, and Rhoda, so we both have really good hands going first and going second. He is going to be going first, though. He searches out for the Rhoda, for the Raisin, and then he's going to normal summon the Mad Love to just search out the field spell. And now he's going to be able to go out to the field spell right now by activate the field spell to search out the Holisu by targeting his Mad Love, which searches a different attribute than the one it targets, and now he can go out to the Holisu, and then he's going to link off the Mad Love for the Rock of the Vanquisher, and then he is going to add it back to hand, the Mad Love, and then go into the end phase by going Holisu, revealing Raisin and the Mad Love to special summon out the Borger, so he can then get a draw if he wants, and he's going to go into the field spell as well to get the trap. This is a pretty standard VS end board. Essentially, if they don't have the canine stuff or just like 2+ extenders, this is kind of the board that they end on. If they have Stake Your Soul, they can do Paradise Smashers if they want to, but it just depends because then they also just like all in on that. So, you know, some players might end up doing that because they see 60 though, which can be an issue, but he didn't. So, but he still has a really strong hand with the Crow and Ash, so that's fine. Draws the Xiaolong, which isn't bad. I draw the Saronir for turn, and basically this is a pretty strong hand going second with the Rahu and Book of Eclipse, so let's see how this goes. I think I'm going to go into the Book of Eclipse here to try to book his monster. This was actually my first game with Book of Eclipse in it, and I was like, well, I have to see like where it's good and not. And I think this was definitely a misplay here, just in case he had a Veiler or something like that, because this isn't really, I mean, he could just chain, I mean, I guess he could also chain the Holisu anyway, so I guess the Book of Eclipse does just go 1-for-1 on the Holisu take, which is like whatever, honestly, because the take isn't that good against branded, to be honest. So I go into the main phase, I go into the Rahu Dracotail, because I typically like to start with the Dracotail cards over the branded cards, just so I can start board breaking. Like a Rahu Dracotail effectively just, you know, like is like 3 or 4 pops, right? So like you're gonna, or even more. So Rahu Dracotail is a great way to go into it, and it also baits the Ash Blossom, which he does right there, so that's totally fine with me because I can still use my Dracotail cards anyways. But I do go into the Quem here. Quem normal summon here is going to be able to, or he's going to chain the Rock here, which is interesting, and then summon out the Raisin, and then I send the Retribution. He goes Raisin effect to search out the Kaiser Valius. And here I'm just going to go branded opening. He's going to go Raisin to pop the Quem. This was also a misplay. I should have definitely summoned the Quem in a one of these columns where you couldn't just go Raisin, so this was definitely a misplay here. I'll learn from my mistakes. Don't ever line up a open column for Raisin if it's not on the board. And then against Vanquish Soul. And here I send out the branded Retribution, which is going to be kind of annoying because he does have the Crow in hand, but I do send the Saronir here and then search the Aluber. Aluber is going to be able to search, but here I send the branded Lost. I search the branded Fusion to play around the Crow though, that I don't know he has, but just in case. And I go branded Retribution to target the Lost, and he is going to actually let that go through, which is kind of interesting. Oh no, he ends up growing that. And then I go branded Fusion, and going into Albaz plus Malulu for the Lubellion, and I'm going to be able to discard the Femina. This isn't the best situation though, but if I'm able to like grind through my Dracotail cards, I might be able to get there. It's just like I haven't even like triggered the trap, which is typically what you like to do with like the Dracotail cards anyways. So I do go for the Katu, and then fuse back for Mirror Jade, and here he's going to go into Kaiser Valius. I'm just gonna scoop here because it's honestly just not a winnable situation from there with that little card advantage. It was a pretty good hand, but like, I don't know, it just wasn't, I think I misplayed on the book, to be honest, and I didn't have enough push through that. I opened up branded opening, fusion deployment, Rahu, Saronir, and then High Spirits. He opens up Holisu, Perulia, Ash, Stake Your Soul, and Lightning Storm, so once again, we both have pretty strong hands. But I am going first, so that typically leans towards branded in that situation. So I do open with High Spirits. He chains Perulia. This is a really good way to play around Duel, and then also just get to your branded fusion when you have the Saronir with the 3 High Spirits. This is why we run 3 Saronir and branded Dracotail. It's just like your best discard to send off of things like opening and then High Spirits too. and also your Rahu and stuff like that. So I do search out the Albion because that will connect me to the branded fusion. I then go into the main phase, or no, I trigger the Saronir so I can finally get the Retribution in the graveyard. And then I go into the Rahu Dracotail here because I was just trying to bait things because I did notice he ashed me before on the Rahu, and on this hand I'd prefer him to ash me on Rahu, frankly, so he does do that. And then I go into Albion here, and I send the branded fusion here, and I'm just going to draw a Dracotail Flame, so that's basically fine that I got Ash on the Rahu. And then I go Retribution to target the branded fusion, and it's basically over from here, right? Because he only has 3 cards. I'm going to go Fusion Deployment, get the Cartesia, go for branded fusion, and then send the Lubellion and just do full combo from here and set up a complete like lock, Mirror Jade kind of board. Go into the Lubellion to connect the branded Lost, and then make the Grand Guignol to then send the Ido and search Mercourier. And then I'm going to go into the end phase and just set Brandon in red plus the Quem setup plus the Ido. So with Mercourier, this is just game 5 times over. Made sure to send the Albaz. You always want Albaz in the graveyard because Brandon red and then your Renbrum in the graveyard off of Mirror Jade gets a lot worse if you don't have Albaz, which is kind of why I like the Dracotail cards, because they get you Femina, which can actually fix some boards if you have to, if you only have an Albaz in hand and no way to get to graveyard, so it does help for that. He ends up, he ends up drawing Fulos and a Fulosing immediately, and then I just chain Brandon red and just go for the lock here, so I don't give him a draw, and then I go for Branded Lost, chain Sanctifier under the Lost protection, so he can't chain anything. To play around like a Bestial, and then I summon out the Albion plus the Ido. There was nothing actually more illegal in my graveyard to summon. I guess I could have summoned one of these, but re-looping the Albion's pretty good just in case it goes to the graveyard, right? I can just reset a branded spell or trap card, and so I search out the kit off of the Lost here to get back the branded fusion in my graveyard eventually. If he can crack back, but he just scoops at that point, so now we can go into the game 3 and see how I try to break this board. So I am going to obviously go second. And at this point, I feel like you should always be going for like a lock as a VS player, at the very least when you're going first, games 2 and 3 against branded, because you can just go for Paradise and like you're putting them on better have Femina effectively, or they're going to lose the game. So I'm kind of dealing with that, but I do open up Shaddoll Fusion, Rahu, Pan, Kit, and Lucius, and you guys are going to see the Shaddoll Fusion tech, which is something I've been very high on. There was a regional list that, like, an 80-person regional that ran, like, a very similar 60-card list to me, except he ran a very extended, like Dracotail engine, and now I'm doing that because I really do like that. But he did also side Shaddoll Fusion, and this was something I was already testing, to be fair, but I really do like it in general, so that encouraged me to run it. And then he also opens Snow Devil, which sucks. DD Crow, actually no, that's actually, well, yeah, no, I mean, I don't know if I'd want to open that, to be honest, but that also makes him, he doesn't have to go through Field Spell if he doesn't want to. He opens up Rhoda on top of that with DD Crow, and then Pot of Extra plus Protos, so he is on probably the, the Herman Hansen build from Euros, where he was running like 2 extra Izeals plus a Protos basically with a sword, so that you could Protos your opponent. I don't even think they're running freaking Infernal Flame Banshee, so I'm getting locked one way or another, and I think he kind of has to decide if he's going for the Paradise or the Protos here and what he values more here. I think Protos is easier to go into without getting hand trap, but he's going to go Extrav. I'm not going to have any responses. He draws into the Ghost Mourner plus Halisu, then goes for Rhoda into Raisin, which is pretty solid, so he just has basically full combo from here. And then goes for the Raisin, although they are neglecting to go for the K9 engine, which is kind of interesting. I feel like that might be a misplay, frankly, because you should always like basically go for the VS, overlay your 5s, I feel like, and make the K9 engine, but maybe that's just me. Because then you lose the interaction, so it's just like, I don't know, I love VS. You can play it low to the ground or not, and it's still pretty good. They go Halisu, reveal then the Xiaolong, so that he can special summon by revealing Crow. Or no, special summon the Mad Love off of the Halisu by revealing Xiaolong and the Crow. special summon Xiaolong, and then he's going to use Mad Love effect to then search the field spell, so he's still gonna get there. Then he's gonna go field spell, search the Kaiser Valia, so he just has a bunch of shit. Then he overlays for, so he does go for the Canine Ripper here, and so he can go into the Canine Engine. Then goes for the Rock of the Vanquisher, and then to recur the Raisin for my turn, so he can pop a card. Then he goes for Canine Ripper effect for the Yuzuna, which makes his board really scary, to be honest, and then sets the Snow Devil, and then banishes off for the Protos, which is kind of crazy, to be honest. Like, I'm not triggering his Azuna, though, so that's what I'm talking about, where if you don't trigger the Azuna, if I triggered the Azuna here, I probably lose the game, honestly, but that's besides the point. I mean, I'm gonna have to trigger it anyway, right? But, like, he could also use those bodies on his turn more proactively, perhaps. So I don't know if I would have lost that game necessarily, but it might have been a different story. At some point, though, you do have to, like, trigger the, like, if you have a Femina in this hand instead of Kit and they're going for Paradise Smashers, you obviously use the Femina, right? You have to, but, like, you kind of wait for those situations, or, like, you know, you could also, like, in this situation, if I had Femina, I'd probably go it. But he's going to go into the Protos and then call Dark, since he did use the Mad Love. And that's usually what people call against Branded, but I'm just going to tell you right now, you don't lose to call Dark anymore. It is really hard to even call now. I don't even think Protos is good against Branded anymore, frankly, because you can play with lights, you can play with all the Dracotail cards, because they're all, like, fire, earth, and, like, water. It's, like, actually incredible for, like, Branded, because now you don't just, like, hard lose to Bestials. You have, like, a whole nother engine, and also Protos. So we're just going to play through that. He does reveal the Raisin off the start, and then he tributes the Vanquisher. I'm not sure why this went to Grave. Oh, yeah, because he went Protos and it destroys his own rock, which I feel like makes his board worse. This is why I'm like, is Protos even good in your deck, guys? Like, I feel like it's a little troll because you just kill your own rock and then your end board gets, like, just worse. But, I don't know, maybe you VS players in the chat can let me know why you guys are running Protos and not just going for Paradise. I mean, I don't even think a lot of builds are. It was just the Herman Hansen build. Before Justice Hunters, I think, right? So I do have Rahu, and I draw Lubellion. I'm not sure why. Well, I could go Shaddoll Fusion. I feel like going Shaddoll Fusion here is actually correct now that I look at it. But I do start the Rahu. Either way. Oh no, I can't even go Shaddoll Fusion because, yeah, no. It's so funny enough, he plays around Shaddoll Fusion by going Protos Vanquish there or pop his rock. So it's probably better for this hand, honestly, that he did that. So I do have to start the Rahu, and then I'm going to go. That's not going to be stopped. I send the Pan plus the Urgula. I love Pan. I've been maining it very much lately because it's, like, so good, like, for popping the Canine Ripper or a random Protos. But I do go into the Gulamel. I did mention this on stream a few times, but I think it's correct to go into the Gulamel up front, going second, because it's more of a board breaker than Altharion, because Altharion you don't really... I mean, it's not more of a board breaker, but, like, Altharion I feel like is way better when you, like, already cycle through your Dracotail cards, because then you have the option to recur, like, whatever, a Maul or a Lucius, and then, like, Gulamel, like, is a lot more proactive. I mean, obviously, when you go Gulamel up front, though, like, your opponent's gonna have a lot of quick effects, so maybe against Yummy it's not correct to go for Gulamel, but, like, in this situation, like, it forces a VS, or else he's gonna get Gulamel popped, essentially. But then also, I already sent the Pan plus the Urgula, so I'm gonna get all of my Dracotail spells and traps, and then also pop his board, like, pop his follow-up. So, like, this is why, just, like, off of resolving one Rahu, it's just so... It's just absolutely insane, the power of that with Branded. So, and that's not even going to Branded cards, but, like, it just layers so well with it because they're all dragons and spellcasters. But he still does have a pretty fair hand, so I feel like it's not going to be the easiest. But I do go Gulamel here because he doesn't chain anything, which might have been a mistake, but because he could have potentially just chained the Raisin, and then that wouldn't have happened. But you could also chain the Azuna here. That was actually definitely a misplay, but I do target the Protos. Or sorry, not the Protos. I target the... I don't even know. I guess not well, I target the field spell, and then I pop the back row off of the Urgula, and then I set the Ketu, and then I set another Ketu, since I already used Rahu and I am going second, so I don't keep in the Dracotail trap going second, of course. And now I'm kind of just like at free reign since I still have Kit plus Lubellion and Lucius. So here I go just normal summon Kit. Maybe I should have just gone Lubellion, but I'm literally just playing around Droll here. I was like, I could just, that's why I was thinking emoji. I'm like, well, I could play into Droll. I was like, no, let's not lose to Droll on a 5-card hand. And I know Droll doesn't, they don't need wins, but I wouldn't doubt someone that could be running that. So I do get the Branded Fusion here. To play around the Droll because I have the Lubellion. If this was a Saronir, I could just send the I could just search the high spirits and it's better that way and I get more through hand traps, but I had to search the Branded Fusion to play around the Droll here. And then I go into the Lubellion since I just Droll checked him, and then I get the Saronir, and then I just go into the Ketu Dracotail here to get the Femina, but he's going to go into the Azuna finally here. Finally not asleep at the wheel. And that's fine. Because, honestly, a Ripper doesn't... I mean, I guess this makes sense. He was waiting for the Ripper on a Femina. Because that's the only real card you can use against Branded Dracotail, but... So I guess that's, like, fair, but then he just ends up quitting here. So, like, because he really doesn't have too much left, right? And I didn't even use Branded Fusion, right? That was all with Dracotail cards. That was all with Dracotail cards, guys. So that's why I'm saying, like, the Dracotail cards are just, like, so worth it against the VSK9 matchup. And I think, like, I'm going to show you guys the current build next video, so leave a like down below. But I've changed the build a lot now. Where were we? I've changed the build a lot now where I think we have to be running more names. Like, I'm running, like, a lot of Lucius now over something like a Luber, so you guys will have to see. It's very similar to the regional list, so go check out the regional list if you haven't already, but I have, like, done my own spice to it because I genuinely think that build was a going second build, and I don't think this deck should be going second, but his build was, like, meaning, like, evenly Dark Ruler, and I'm just not really about that. I think Book of Eclipse is just way better, and you should still be, like, maining the lock for, like, a strong going first, but he was also maining both the Dracotail trap, so you know, it was a little bit different win cons, right? He was just saying a Mad Interruption, which I feel like just plays into time, which I don't like, so. Especially with the new time rules on the horizon, I feel like something like Ido is actually going to be almost necessary because you're going to have to, like, close out games really quickly in order to save time and not just, like, double loss yourself effectively, and I think locking helps, and you know, Masquerade's never going to be used again, but that's a whole nother discussion. We'll have a video on that. If you guys want to see a video on that, let me know down below, but also get this video to 100 likes and we will do another gameplay. As always, we're going to continue the series. Then once my cards come in, I'm going to give you guys a deck profile. I'm also going to be entering in some events probably next weekend or this weekend. It depends if my cards come in or not. Shout out to Gamer's Choice. And yeah, so let me know down below what you guys thought about this gameplay. We played through Protos, guys. We don't lose to Protos anymore, quite literally. So you love to see it, right? And I see, this is kind of weird why you just, I mean, I guess I just go Ketu, search a card, and then I just fuse off. So yeah, I guess that was an okay card. That was a fine time to just fucking quit the game, honestly. So yeah, guys, bye now.